And the victims of prey would get high and get drunk and would pray in his name, jamming the lanes of the fast food chain, while the mentally insane would walk about, raping and stealing and taking people out. And you couldn't really tell if these were human beings, clones or worker drones, even if you were standing right next to one on the telephone. And every thug a gangster rap and every song that one sang would make it very clear that a love supreme had nothing to do with this. By the same token, the solarized male is groomed and conditioned to see a fellow solarized male in the same manner in which the apex predatorial male sees him. That's right. Any other solarized male is then seen as a challenger, an opponent who must be neutralized through domination and control, degraded, or otherwise eliminated. But here's the deal. When the going gets really rough and really tough, the solarized male will even target those of the apex predator's lineage in the same way which those of that lineage strategize to systematically attack any solarized male perceived as being a possible threat to the white supremacy, social, economic, political, and religious agenda. The solarized male becomes a rebel without a cause. Being boastful, braggish, and bullish is how he hides his insecurity while seeking to fit a selective profile or identity of manhood. He seeks to fit the profile of a gangster, thug, a tough guy, a player, a family man, a revolutionary, a man of cultural consciousness, a man of class. Come hell or high water, he walks this pathway alone, an individual, a self with no true connection to a natural and innate male-female relationship, because his female is systematically dominated and controlled by the master warlord, whom she protects and serves, although the warlord male opposes her sacred ancestral spirit presence as a child of the sun. We're talking serious stuff here. You know, the kind of stuff that creates a hostily aggressive, frustrated, aggravated, and irritated male, indulging in relationships with a bossy, bitter, frustrated, and angry, aggressive female. We're talking about these modern times, and we're talking about a male who has been pushed into becoming armed and dangerous. Make no mistake about it, the young and untamed solarized male has become a carbon copy of the warlord and his pale mental mindset, reflecting the profile of macho male manhood that is glorified and upheld in the warlord's culture. In fact, any male born, bred, and fed or otherwise influenced by the attitudes, values, behaviors, and beliefs emerging out of the Babylon system of usury and enslavement that translated into Greece and Rome and on into these modern times as the roots of Western culture, will indeed be a carbon copy of the master warlord and his apex predatorial nature. Keep this in the forefront of one's reasoning when one views youth who have become thugs, gangsters, hoodlums, pimps, gigolos, and so forth. We are witnessing the sum total of the depleted energy consumed by males who were born, bred, and fed from the social order that has been dominated and controlled by warlords and apex predators. What is ignored is that the master warlord strategically controls the communication networks of his social order, determining the effective use of propaganda, misinformation, rumor, and deception to promote his social, economic, political, and religious agenda. These mass media tools are used to keep mass populations confused, disoriented, and lulled into false states of security and passivity, and are hyped into unstable states of panic and fear, or agitated and reactionary states of conflict and opposition to each other, or sinking into oblivion through gangster rap, heavy metal music, movies, graphics, sex and violence, mindless comedies and melodramas, social media and video games that express the nature of sexual violation, violence, war, and crime as child's play, where children learn by example. Thus, the warlord and the apex predator has infiltrated the thinking, reasoning, and actions of the majority of man, he and she,
beginning at domestic level in households where individuals attempt to maintain relationships, raise children, and be productive in their lives. With TVs, radios, newspapers, internets, and other devices, keep one tapped into the main vein of a culture that is indeed a gun culture, a war culture, a drug culture, and a culture of depleted and devitalized consumption. A culture that has converted every consumer, regardless of racial profile, creed, color, sex, disability, or nationality, into a product of the white supremacy mindset. Make no mistake about it, the white supremacy mindset is the epitome of what has been born, bred, and fed from the polarizing consciousness of a pale mental mindset. Man, he and she must cease to be in denial about this mindset and the adverse effects that did occur to cause severe mutation and degeneration due to a lack of whole life nourishment from the fruits of the tree of life. We must be clear that within the white blight of snow and ice, there were no trees, no fruits of the trees of life, only hardship and slaughter, and the consumption of dead, devitalized, and depleted carcass remains. This lower and lesser consumption pattern did automatically reduce man, he, and she into a lower and lesser state of being that produced a new breed of mankind, a hunting, herding, predatorial scavenger, nomadic warmongers led by warlords. Warlords who survived and thrived off of conflict, war, the booty, and the spoils of war. What we're actually seeing is the genetic strain of that hunting, herding, scavenging warlord through generations of mutation and degeneration that formulated into a being who identifies himself as the superior breed of mankind, the advanced, civilized man who perpetuates the white blight supremacy ideology as a way of life that totally opposes our sacred ancestral spirit presence as children of the sun. The superior man of a superior mind whose thoughts, reasonings, and actions now threaten the existence of man, he and she, all living things upon the earth and the earth herself. In the midst of this severe crisis, there is a gateway for divine spirit conscious solutions to manifest. However, for that to have any possibilities, man, he and she must remove the blinders that prevent spirit conscious insight. The prerequisite for spirit conscious insight is whole life consumption of optimum nutrition in order to regenerate the malnourished brain. All of man, he and she, must come to recognize that until we are capable of honoring our sacred ancestral spirit presence as divine children of the sun and give homage to the sacred garden culture from which we come, there will be no divine spirit conscious solutions. The only thing that man, he and she, can expect is more conflict, confusion, lust, lies, illusions, death, and deadly destruction that causes more intense sexual violation, more gruesome violence, more massive destructive wars, and more horrifying crimes against the natural and innate essence of masculine and feminine energy. We definitely do not need to see any more of this warlord mentality in its original form or as a carbon copy. Yet, if detoxing and purging does not occur, all we will see is more of the same, worse.
They will produce offspring who sing and dance and rap a different thing, calling each other ice and hoes and niggas, bitches, and dogs during the days of the final fall. And stuff will begin to move fast and furious within the gates of hell out there. And the rot and the stink and the funky smell will pollute and contaminate the fresh air.